I managed night intake at a private tow yard. I needed cash for a custody lawyer, and I made a plan I told myself was practical. Strip abandoned cars fast, sell parts under the table, and never ask why a vehicle got left where it got left. I kept that plan tight, because tight feels clean when you're doing dirty shit. I worked alone most nights, gate buzzer barking in my ear, radio hissing, receipts, and tow slips piling up until the desk looked like a trash can. I tell myself I only touched the ones everybody had forgotten, the lean cars, the no-shows, the stuff that sat long enough to grow mold in the cup holders. Then my kid's school called about a fee I couldn't cover. My lawyer emailed about another retainer, and my ex sent me screenshots like a threat, calendar entries, court dates, numbers with dollar signs. I stopped thinking in right and wrong and started thinking in hours and parts. A city contract truck dropped off a small sedan after a welfare check. No collision, no obvious damage, just a sour smell and a crusty smear on the inside of the driver door, like someone wiped their hand there. The driver didn't do his usual tough guy banter. He kept his gloves on while he signed, and he looked past me like he didn't want my face stored anywhere. The paperwork said owner, unknown, hold, pending. That hold meant cops might come. That hole meant I should have backed off. In our yard, a hole was supposed to be a hard wall. Park in the camera row, don't touch, don't even open the fucking thing. I'd enforced that rule on other people plenty of times because it made me feel official. Instead, I opened it anyway. I cracked the door and the smell slid out, heavy and sweet sour, like wet carpet left in a trunk, mixed with pennies, mixed with something that made my stomach roll. I clicked my flashlight and swept the cabin. Empty cups, a charger, a hair tie on the shifter. Normal mess. Normal made it worse. The smear sat right where a hand grabs to pull the door shut. It wasn't greasy. It had that dry, drag texture. I stared at it, then did the exact thing you do when you try to prove you're not scared. I touched it. It stuck to the glove and left a darker streak. I wiped it on a shop towel and pretended it was soda and dirt. I started fast because speed keeps you from thinking. Glove box, console, under seats. I found a cheap necklace under the seat and a crumpled flyer in the glove box. Her face, that big, friendly smile, the word missing printed above it. Same last name as the registration. My throat tightened and my brain did that ugly thing where it tries to turn horror into profit. I didn't picture her. I pictured a police cruiser pulling in, the owner screaming at me, the yard getting locked down, my cash pipeline dying. I shut the glove box like it could bite me. I sat there with my hands on my knees and listened to the yard. Chain link ticking in wind, far traffic, my own breath loud inside the car. That was the point where a decent person backs out. I didn't. I went back to the office, grabbed degreaser and rags, and came back like I was detailing a trade-in. I wiped the interior down, not like a cleaner, like a thief. I hit the driver door hard, the handle, the window switch, the armrest. The towel came away brown, then darker, and I kept scrubbing because stopping meant admitting what I was doing. I bagged the rags and dumped them in the far dumpster behind the stacks where the cameras never covered because the owner was cheap and lazy. I washed the degreaser off my wrists at the utility sink until the water ran gray. Then I lied to myself that bleach equals innocence. I even wiped my flashlight handle like it mattered. Then I made the car disappear. I pulled the plates, swapped the lot tag, and pushed it behind a row of wrecks where nobody walks unless they're hiding something. We had a dead pocket behind burned SUVs and a delivery van with no doors, a blind spot everybody used for smoke breaks and shady favors. I shoved her sedan into that pocket and parked a crushed Civic in front of it like a lid. I changed the yard log entry to a different unit number, something close enough to not look weird, and told myself I'd fix it later. I never fix anything later. 2 days later, I sold the catalytic converter. Quick money. No questions. I didn't even cut it myself. I had the new guy do it because he wanted overtime and I wanted distance. He fought the bolts, slammed a wrench, and asked why the car had no plates. I snapped at him to shut the fuck up and keep his head down. He went quiet in that way that doesn't forgive. When he dropped the converter, a hot puff of stink rolled up from under the car, and he gagged. He stared at me like he finally saw the rot underneath the job. I took the converter to a guy who ran recycling out of a garage behind a vape shop. He weighed it, handed me cash, and didn't look at my face because looking invites questions. I drove back to the yard with the bills on the seat and waited for relief. I used some of that cash the next morning to wire my lawyer, just so he'd stop emailing final notice like a bill collector. Then my ex called, and we tore into each other until my voice went raw. She said I was always broke when it mattered. I said she only cared about control. I hung up, stared at my kid's school photo taped to my fridge, and realized I'd just traded somebody else's nightmare for one more week of paperwork. Relief didn't show. My chest stayed tight, like I'd swallowed a fist. The missing person story hit local news a week after that. Candlelight vigil, parents begging, comments full of strangers pretending they cared. I watched it on my phone at intake while the gate buzzer kept chirping and tow trucks rolled in like the world didn't notice one girl missing. The reporter said, "Welfare check," and my ears rang. Her dad's voice cracked. Her mom clutched a photo and kept repeating her daughter's name like it was a rope. I stood behind the fence at my yard and listened to the highway like it could wash me clean. After that, I lived in flinches. Every headlight on the frontage road made my gut drop. Every time a cruiser slowed near the entrance, I froze with my hand on a clipboard like paper could protect me. I stopped sleeping right. I'd fall out at noon and wake at 2 with my teeth clenched and that flyer in my head. I started drinking on weeknights, not to party, just to get my brain to shut up. Work got uglier because I got uglier. The owner accused me of losing a set of wheels, and I blew up on him in the office. Both of us red-faced, spitting, calling each other thieves like that word meant something in our line of work. The dispatcher started watching me different. The new guy stopped joking around me. I caught 2 drivers whispering by the gate, and I snapped at them for being late on signatures, like my anger could keep anyone from looking too close. A couple times I went back to her sedan at night, just to check it stayed hidden. Dust thickened on the windshield. The battery died. A spider webbed the mirror to the visor. It looked like any other forgotten car, which made me sick because it meant I'd gotten away with it. The cheap necklace sat in my kitchen drawer at home because I'd pocketed it without thinking. I'd pull it out and let it hang from my finger, then shove it back like it burned. I told myself I'd drop it somewhere. I'd mail it. I'd do something not trash. I never did. 3 months later, a detective showed up, calm voice, tired eyes, and held up a photo from an evidence board. In the corner of the photo was a metal part with a yard-marking paint pen number on it. My number format, my handwriting style, the kind I'd used for years. He didn't accuse me. He just asked me to explain why a piece of her car showed up in a different county. The dispatcher tried to talk for me, blaming mix-ups, blaming tags, blaming how chaotic salvage gets. I cut her off, so sharp she flinched. The detective watched that flinch like it was a note he could underline. He asked who had access to the back row. He asked who writes numbers on parts. He asked how long I'd been marking stuff that way. I answered with yard bullshit, policy, volume, mistakes, while my hand shook under the desk. The phone rang twice, and I didn't pick it up. My ex texted, and the screen lit up like a warning flare. The detective didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He slid his card onto my desk and said he'd be back, like time itself was on his side. After he left, I walked to the blind pocket behind the Rex and stared at her sedan until my eyes watered. I didn't open it. I didn't touch it. I just stood there with my fists clenched, listening to forklifts beep and metal clank and men laugh in the distance. Normal noise over a fucked up secret. I went back inside, sat at my desk, and felt the room shrink. I thought the worst part was what I did. Turns out the worst part is realizing you can't keep a secret that big without it leaking out of everything you touch. I worked the front desk at a community college financial aid office, and I hated one student for reporting me to my supervisor. So I made a simple plan. Wait for her renewal week, lose one document in the system, and let the bureaucracy crush her while I stayed clean. That office wasn't some dramatic place. It was fluorescent lights, a carpet that always smelled like wet shoes, a line that never ended, and students holding their whole damn life in folders like paper could protect them. I sat behind a counter with 2 monitors and a scanner, and I had the kind of power that doesn't look like power until you use it. She was the only one who ever put a target on me. It started over nothing, which is what makes it ugly. She came in with her kid, asked about verification, and I was already pissed off about being short-staffed and having 3 angry voicemails and a broken printer. I gave her that clipped tone, that I can't do magic attitude, because that's what you do when you're tired and you think you're untouchable. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at my badge, wrote my name down, and left. 2 days later, my supervisor called me into her office with the fake plant and the little teamwork poster and told me a concern was raised about my attitude. She made me sign a coaching form like I was a teenager. She used that careful voice like she was handling a bomb. I walked back out to the lobby with my face hot, and there was the student sitting there like she belonged, calm as hell, like filing a complaint was just another errand. That's what snapped something in me. Not fear, shame. I didn't want to be better. I wanted her to pay for making me feel small in front of my boss. I didn't have anything to hit her with, not directly, so my brain went to the only thing I did have, the system. Financial aid isn't kindness. It's check boxes. It's statuses. It's deadlines. It's pending and in review, and missing document and auto emails that land like punches. I knew if one thing went missing at the wrong time, everything froze. Classes dropped. Jobs lost. Rent missed. No one calls it sabotage because it looks like an accident. Renewal week hit and the lobby got packed. People shoulder to shoulder, everyone stressed, everyone begging in the polite way people beg when they know you can ruin them. She came in with that binder people carry when they're scared. Tabs, pay stubs, daycare receipts, rent notices folded like they'd been opened 100 times. She didn't smile. She didn't act tough either. She acted focused, like she'd rehearsed this because she couldn't afford to mess up. She asked me twice if everything was complete. The first time I did my little professional nod, scanned the pages, stamped the cover sheet, told her she'd get an email if anything was missing. She stayed planted. She asked again, slower, eyes locked on mine like she was trying to pin me to the truth. I flipped through the stack like I was checking. Then I fed it into the scanner, watched the images pop up, and when the verification worksheet came up, the one stupid page that makes the whole file complete, I slid it out and set it under my keyboard like it got stuck. I kept scanning the rest, so the system showed activity. Then I opened her file and quietly marked that single worksheet as not received. One click, no jitting, no fight, just me smiling like I wasn't a piece of shit. I handed her binder back and told her she was good. She said, "Thank you." And I felt this sharp little thrill because she meant it. Next day, the auto email hit her like I knew it would. Incomplete file. Aide paused. She showed up sweating, no kid this time, hair pulled back tighter than before, and she came right up to my counter like she'd been punched in the stomach and was trying not to fold. She said she turned it in. She said she watched me scan it. I pulled up her screen and pointed at the red status like I was showing her weather. I watched her face change like she'd been slapped. Confusion first, then anger, then panic trying to hide behind anger. She asked me to check again. I checked. I clicked around. I did the sigh. I told her sometimes the scanner glitches. I told her maybe it didn't upload. She said that was bullshit, not even loud, just flat, and a couple people in line stared at her like she was the problem. She asked for a supervisor. Of course she did. That was her thing. Report. Escalate. Make someone else deal with it. My supervisor came out, did the soft voice, pulled her aside, promised to look into it, and I sat there pretending to type while my stomach hummed with adrenaline. After she left, my supervisor asked me if I remembered scanning her paperwork. I said yes. I said it was busy. I said pages stick together. I said I'd check the queue. I said all the right boring excuses. My supervisor wanted the problem to disappear more than she wanted the truth. So she nodded and moved on. I kept that missing page in my drawer for a week. That's the sick part. I didn't shred it. I didn't lose it for real. I kept it like a hostage, like proof I could do this and no one would ever catch me. Every time I opened the drawer for a pen, I saw her signature and felt this dirty satisfaction. The consequences stacked fast, just like the system is built to do. Tuition deadline passed. Her classes got dropped automatically. No classes meant her campus job got cut. No job meant her bank account went to zero. She started coming in every couple days, first angry, then exhausted, then careful. She stopped raising her voice because every time she did, staff wrote notes about her being hostile. She learned fast that the system punishes emotion. She'd stand at my counter gripping her phone so hard her knuckles went white, asking what else she could do, and I'd say the same dead phrases. Processing takes time. Check your email, submit again to be safe. At one point, she shoved a pay or quit notice toward me. Rent due, red ink, and she asked what she was supposed to do. Not in a dramatic way. In that quiet way people ask when they're already losing and they just want someone to admit it. I told her to talk to the cashier's office about a payment plan. Like a payment plan fixes being broke. She muttered bitch when she walked away. I heard it. My coworker heard it and smirked like it was funny. Later, my supervisor told me to document the interaction in case she complains again. That word again sat in my head like a nail. The student came back with the missing worksheet printed again, wrinkled, corners torn like she'd pulled it out in the rain. I stamped it received right in front of her and scanned it for real this time, because by then I'd gotten what I wanted. I'd watched her scramble. What's its here, mis deadlines. I'd watch her get squeezed by rules that don't care. She asked if that fixed it. I told her it still had to go through review, could take up to 2 weeks. She stared at me like she wanted to leap the counter and choke me, but she didn't. She just nodded like she was swallowing glass and walked out. Then she stopped coming. And that should have felt like winning, but it didn't. It felt like a door closing somewhere I couldn't see. Months later, I was bored at work, and I Googled her name like I was scratching an itch. A local court docket popped up. Her name was right there in plain text. Eviction. Filed. Hearing date. Judgment. I clicked it like an idiot, like more details would make it less real. Then I saw another entry a little after that. Custody review. That's when the nausea finally showed up, late like a coward. My hands went cold on the mouse. My mouth filled with spit like I was about to throw up. I sat at my desk with students lined up in front of me and my screen full of bland forms, and all I could see was her binder and her kid's sock missing and the way she asked me twice if it was complete, like she knew she was standing on a trapdoor. I tried to tell myself it wasn't all me, that the system is cruel anyway, that she would have struggled regardless, that people lose paperwork all the time, that I didn't write the rules. I told myself she started it when she reported me. I told myself I just nudged a machine that was already rolling. It all sounded smart until I pictured that one page sitting in my drawer like a secret and realized I didn't nudge anything. I picked a person and I pressed a button on purpose. The worst part is how easy it was to keep going afterward. The lobby stayed busy. New students brought new binders. People cried at my window. People yelled. People thanked me. I kept my voice calm. I kept my hands clean. I learned to act like I cared, like I wasn't the kind of person who could do something like that. Sometimes I still search her name, not because I'm trying to help, but because I need to know if she's still out there carrying the damage I dropped on her like a cinder block. I still work there. People bring me binders every day. I help them with a calm voice and clean hands. Nobody knows I can erase a life with a checkbox. I drove a last-mile delivery route for a subcontractor, the kind that hands you a scanner, a vest that stinks by noon, and a route so tight you learn to pee in a bottle without thinking. I knew every busted buzzer and every lobby camera. I knew names, unit numbers, drop times. I told myself it was just work, just patterns. Then I got stuck on one pattern. The same woman signing for packages at the same building, same floor, same hand coming out like she trained for it. At first it felt harmless. I looked forward to her stop. I pushed my morning harder so I'd hit that building when she was usually home. If I got there early and she wasn't, it scraped at me like a missed cigarette. If I got there late and someone else signed, I'd get pissed at the day like it robbed me. I started noticing which days she didn't answer and which neighbor dragged her boxes inside. I learned the neighbors shuffle, the door click, the dumb little rhythm of that hallway. I'd stand by the mailboxes longer than I needed, pretending to sort parcels while my eyes ran the directory and the elevator lights. Then I started keeping the labels. The peel-off strips, the torn corners, the signature slips that should have gone in the trash. I told myself it was trash. I kept the trash anyway. I'd flatten it in the van, fold it, and stick it in my vest pocket like it mattered. Back at the warehouse, I'd unload fast, then pat that pocket like I was checking a wallet. At home, I made a pile in a drawer I never used, stacked neat like receipts. I didn't even read them most nights. Just knowing they existed made me feel like I had a handle on her, like I'd banked something. The sick part is I already had what I needed without stealing paper. The scanner showed delivery windows. The label showed unit numbers. Notes said leave at door or call on arrival. I started memorizing her notes. I started checking the time. I scanned her stop and comparing it to the timestamps on her posts like I was proving a math problem. I'd catch myself smiling at a coincidence, then feel disgust wash over it, then do it again the next day anyway. One day her signature came out clean. Full name, no lazy scribble. That's when it got stupidly easy. I typed it in that night, half telling myself I was just curious, half already sweating. Her socials popped up. Photos, check-ins, the gym, the cafe she posted like it was a personality. Same stool, same corner table, the same little routine, captions like she wanted applause for existing. She wasn't hiding. Most people don't. That was my excuse. My brain rewrote it into permission. After that, I stopped feeling like a stranger and started feeling like I belonged near her. Same van, same route, same building. I'd swing past the cafe because traffic, park where I could see the window because lunch, scroll her post with filthy hand while the scanner beeped at me. I'd linger in her lobby after the delivery, pretending to read the directory, pretending to check the next stop, pretending the app froze. The doorman asked once if I needed something, and I snapped back like he was accusing me of a crime. I walked out with my heart hammering, angry at him for noticing me, angry at her for making me feel watched while I was the one doing it. I started feeling owed. If she didn't come to the door, I'd knock harder than I needed to. If she didn't answer, I'd picture her inside, ignoring me on purpose. I'd walk back to the van cursing under my breath like a baby who didn't get candy. Some days I'd circle the block and come back to reattempt, even when policy didn't require it. I'd stand outside her door, listening for movement, then pretend the scanner had frozen so I could justify staying. Once I heard her chain slide and still didn't get the door, I stood there staring at the peephole like it was a face, then left before the hallway camera could catch me just standing there like a creep. It bled into everything. Dispatch would ping me asking why I was behind, and I'd fire back, acting like the whole world was stacked against me. Another driver joked that I always got stuck at that building, and I told him to shut the fuck up. At home, my girlfriend kept asking why I was always guarding my phone, why I'd stare past her like she wasn't there. I picked fights over dishes, over money, over nothing. One night, she grabbed my phone off the couch to check the time, and I yanked it back so fast I damn near threw it. She called me paranoid. I called her controlling. I watched her flinch and still kept going because I needed someone else to be the problem. One night, I drove back after my shift. Not on the clock, not in uniform, just me in the van because it felt normal to sit in it. I parked down the street from her building and killed the lights. I told myself I wasn't crossing a line because I wasn't getting out. I sat there with my hands on the wheel, watching her windows like they owed me something. I waited for her light to go out. I sat there imagining I could steer her life like a route map, like if I waited long enough the next turn would appear. A car slowed near me and my whole body tensed like I was the one being hunted. It rolled past. I stayed. I watched couples walk dogs. I watched someone drag trash to the curb. I watched the lobby door open and shut and started tracking it like scans in my head. I wasn't even horny at that point. I was control sick. I wanted to be right about her timing, about her life. Then I saw her come in with a guy. He walked her to the door like it was nothing. She leaned in close. The lobby glass caught their reflections and my stomach dropped. My chest tightened and my thoughts turned mean and hungry. I whispered, "Fucking bitch," like she betrayed me by living. My own voice in that dark then made me flinch, but I still sat there, staring at the building, telling myself he didn't deserve her, telling myself I'd been there longer in some twisted way. I drove off with my hands shaking, then spent the next day delivering packages like a robot while my head replayed that moment and tried to turn it into a reason. The next week, my dispatcher called me into the office. No jitting, no drama. That calm tone felt like a trap. He shut the door and put a printed photo on the desk. My van, idling outside her building at midnight. Under was a screenshot from a neighborhood post. Delivery driver keeps showing up after hours. Anyone recognize him? Comments underneath named the company, described the van, said call the cops, said watch your doors. Somebody posted a blurry shot of my face through the windshield. Seeing my own outline like that made my stomach twist. I laughed like it was nothing, acted offended, acted wronged. I said it wasn't me, said I must have been rerouted, said people were paranoid, said it's a public street. I tried to turn it into an argument, like if I talked hard enough, it would become true. He didn't bite. He slid my GPS log across the desk with dates highlighted where my van lingered in that area, not once, not twice, but enough to make a pattern. He asked if I had any reason to be there after hours. My mouth opened and nothing solid came out. He didn't call me a stalker. He didn't need to. The paper already did. He told me they were pulling me off the route. He told me to turn my badge for review. He said the subcontractor didn't want cops in the warehouse, didn't want the building manager escalating, didn't want the neighborhood post spreading. I wanted to scream that I hadn't touched her, hadn't said a word, hadn't broken in. But my throat locked because I knew the whole point was that I didn't need to touch her to make her feel unsafe. I walked out with my vest in my hands and felt like every camera I'd ever ignored was suddenly looking right at me. I went home and stared at my uniform on the chair like it was a skin I couldn't safely wear anymore. My girlfriend asked what happened, and I dodged until she snapped and called me a creep. I tried to fight back, tried to make her the villain for not supporting me, but the word fit too clean. She packed a bag and left for her sister's place without looking at me. The apartment got quiet in a way that felt like punishment. I went to that drawer, dumped the whole pile into the kitchen trash, tied the bag, then cut it open 5 minutes later and pulled them back out with my bare hands. I rinsed my fingers, shook, and hated myself for needing proof that she was real. I slept like shit. Every car outside sounded like it was slowing down for my building. Every notification on my phone felt like a knock. I opened neighborhood apps and searched my company name like I was checking for a warrant. I started checking my own peephole before I opened my door, even when nobody had knocked. I'd catch myself standing in my hallway listening for footsteps the same way I'd listen outside her door, and it would hit me hard. I trained myself to be the thing people fear. Now every time a package shows up at my door, I check the peephole twice. I hate that I taught myself what to fear.